All right, I think it's live. Hold on, just waiting for it to kick in. Actually, the time. There it goes. Wait, there we go. Hey guys, what's up? It's Bumpkins, and today is Comics Daily Weekly number 20, the last one of 2020. I'd like to say I planned it that way, but I didn't. Thanks for being here tonight, guys. If you don't know, Comics Daily Weekly is a weekly stream podcasty type thing, even though it's not a podcast, where I talk about the Silver Age comics that I read throughout the previous week. So if you follow me on either of these accounts here, Twitter or Instagram, I read one Silver Age Marvel comic every day, and I tweet or post on Instagram about them, just talking about different trends, different just different things I noticed. The idea is to experience these comics as they came out originally back in the day. So every week is 1 month of publication time. So today we're talking about comics from March 1968. Last week it was February 1968. Next week we'll be talking about comics from April 1968. So you get the idea. And like I said, the idea is to experience these comics as they come out. We get to... What's up, Opie? We get to see new characters come on, new creative teams come on. We just get to experience trends. We get to see sort of the culture of the time, I guess, sort of make its way into these books. And it's really fun. So, again, today is talking about Marvel Comics from March 1968. That includes Amazing Spider-Man number 158. I'm sorry, Amazing Spider-Man number 58. Tales of Suspense number 99. Daredevil number 38. Avengers number 50. Strange Tales number 166, and Fantastic Four number 72. Yep. That's only 6 comics, and there are 7 days in a week. So usually Saturday is kind of a wild card. I might read just whatever I feel like reading. This time, since Christmas was on Friday, I actually read Amazing Spider-Man number 314 from, I believe it was 1989. I think that's when it was. The only reason I read that on Friday is because that is one of my favorite Christmas issues. It's just nothing really fancy, but Spider-Man taking down some guys and also dealing with eviction problems on Christmas. And I just really like that issue. So I read that on Christmas, and I read Fantastic Four 72 on Saturday. So this past week was a little bit different, but I digress. So we're going to get right into it with Amazing Spider-Man number 58. This one wraps up the amnesia storyline that we've been sticking with for the last several issues now. You know, the storyline where Doc Ock moves in with Aunt May and he steals a military weapon, uses it on Spider-Man. Spider-Man loses his memory. Doc Ock convinces Spider-Man that they're partners and convinces Spider-Man to help him steal another part for that weapon. Spider-Man beats Doc Ock, still doesn't have his memory. So last issue was an amnesiac Spider-Man battling Kazar. And Spider-Man was wanted by the police for supposedly kidnapping Peter Parker, even though he is Peter Parker. And so last week was all about Kazar hunting Spider-Man through New York, which last week I mentioned that's exactly what I want the next Spider-Man to be. I don't want a Spider-Verse movie yet. I want Spider-Man 3, the next one, to be Kraven the Hunter hunting Spider-Man through the city, because at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, Spider-Man was wanted, or I'm sure he will be wanted, because supposedly he was framed to look like he murdered Mysterio. Anyway, it's what I wanted the movie to be. It's not what we're going to get, but I guess that's why they don't pay me to write movies. But this story kind of wraps up that whole thing, because at the beginning... There we go. At the beginning, Spider-Man actually finally gets his memory back. Thank goodness. It was a fun story, but I don't love amnesia stories, just like I don't love stories where superheroes lose their powers. Those things can tend to drag on, and I think really sort of bring any momentum down that a story might be having or might be gaining. But luckily, right here, Spider-Man gets his memory back. Kazar knocked him out last issue. He nearly drowned. Kazar saved him, and just as Spider-Man says right here, the shock of you can't see that. The shock of hitting the water must have cured it. So that what a nice super convenient way for Spider-Man to get his memory back. That's fine. I don't care. I'm just glad that he's got it back. So now that that's over, now that Spider-Man has his memory back, this issue basically just turns into your basic run-of-the-mill Spider Slayer story. So Spencer Smythe, in the second panel right over there, he comes waltzing back in. We haven't seen him. I should have looked. We haven't seen him in a while. The last time we saw him, he was working with Jonah on some Spider Slayer robots, trying to take down Spider-Man, and Jonah was all for it. So he shows back up, and there's just more with Kazar here. You know what? This is like a couple pages of Kazar that isn't necessary. Like, I don't know why. I guess I sometimes feel like they had trouble, like Stan maybe had trouble filling 20 pages worth of story because there's so much like filler in these issues. This whole sequence here with Kazar, totally unnecessary because he doesn't show up again in the issue until the very last page, and that has nothing to do with the actual story. So, but Spencer Smythe shows back up, talking to Jonah about, hey, I got a new Spider Slayer robot, and there it is right there, and it's the most sort of humanoid-looking one yet. What's up, Pete? Best comic book I know. Aw, thanks, man. And you're the best guy in Ohio that I know. I appreciate that. So this Spider Slayer robot is the most humanoid one yet. He's showing Jonah how it can be remote controlled, and sort of typical of the Spider Slayers of this era. Whoever's controlling it, mostly Jonah, you can see their face. Like there's like a monitor on the Spider Slayer's head, and you can see Jonah's face. And the rest of this issue is just Jonah controlling the Spider Slayer, chasing Spider-Man around the city. Now, one cool thing about this, one thing that sort of helps level the playing field just a little bit is because Spider-Man just regained his memory, he hasn't had a chance to go back to his apartment yet. He hasn't even had a chance to check on Aunt May yet. We won't even see that until next issue, number 59, which I read yesterday and posted on these accounts yesterday. So Spider-Man is out of web fluid, so you won't see him swinging around, which makes things a little bit harder for him in this issue, because he's literally like instead of just like swinging around the city, he's jumping from roof to roof, getting his friend's free cable, and the Spider Slayer is just following him around. Oh, actually, you know what? I guess I was wrong. I guess he does go back to the apartment right here, but he doesn't he can't stay there long because his spider sense is tingling, and he has to get out of there. Oh yeah, the Spider Slayer like tracks him down. So he doesn't. So my bad. He does get back to his apartment, but he doesn't really have a lot of time to rest up, get new web fluid, that kind of stuff. Now, the one thing about this... Oh, you know what? Let me point out something real quick that I pointed out on Twitter. So in this sequence right here, Jonah and Smythe are controlling the Spider Slayer, and they even mention, hop in, Jameson, we'll follow the Spider Slayer here in my car. And it shows Jonah getting in the car, right? The next panel, they're in the car, right? Jonah's controlling the Spider Slayer from the car, right? We all agree, right? Okay. 2 pages later, right here, they're in Jonah's office because Betty comes barging in and saying, "Oh, I didn't know you returned so soon." Oh, you know what? I guess they didn't. She said, "I didn't know you had returned so soon." So I guess they returned from being in the car. I pointed that out on Twitter, saying that was some bad continuity, that they were supposed to be in the car. So never mind. But so what I was saying earlier is that Jameson is controlling the Spider Slayer, and he is attacking Spider-Man, sure, but he does make a point to tell Smythe that I don't want to kill him. I don't want to kill Spider-Man. I just want to trap him so that the police can get him. And Smythe ends up shoving Jonah out of the way, taking over, and actually like really goes at him with this Spider Slayer robot. And Jonah, at that point, he sort of protests and says, "Hey, I didn't want to kill him. I just wanted him to be apprehended." And so they have different viewpoints of what should happen to Spider-Man with this robot. So the rest of this thing is just Spider-Man fighting the robot. He does manage to trick the robot. He actually lures it back to Smythe's lair, where there is a bunch of spiders, as you can see in this middle panel right here, because Smythe was experimenting with spiders. The Spider Slayer can hone in on like spider-like senses or abilities or something. That's why Smythe has so many spiders. But because he's in a place with so many spiders, the Spider Slayer short circuits and blows up. So it was a pretty convenient way to defeat him. But that's it. He runs it, and so here's the end when he runs into Kazar again. Doesn't really play into the story at all. Kazar says, "You seem familiar, but I guess not." So yeah, it was fine. It was a fine issue. Like I said, it's your typical run-of-the-mill Spider Slayer story from this era. We will get several more of these throughout the coming weeks and months. Smythe pops up with different versions of the Spider Slayer from time to time. When we get to the 90s, that's when I was reading. We get introduced to Alistair Smythe, Spencer Smythe's son. He actually, I can't remember how, but he himself becomes a Spider Slayer. Like he gets like cybernetic implants, and that's a whole story, but that won't be till the 90s, and we're not even to the 70s yet. So this was a fine issue, but there's better ones to come. The one next issue was pretty cool. So we'll talk about that next week. But we're going to move on to Tales of Suspense number 99. So I say it every week, but again, Tales of Suspense for the last 40 issues has been a double feature between Iron Man and Captain America. And this is the last issue of Tales of Suspense. So what's going to happen is, and one of my buddies on Twitter actually helped me realize this. So I thought this jumped straight into Iron Man number 1, but it doesn't. The Iron Man story in this continues into Iron Man and Submariner number 1, which was like a one-shot that bridges the gap between this book and Iron Man's own ongoing series, and also Tales to Astonish into Submariner's own ongoing series. I don't like Namor. I'm not going to read that, so forget it. I didn't read the Namor side of that story when I read it today. But this Iron Man story is continued into Iron Man and Submariner number 1, which we'll talk about next week. And then after that is the ongoing Iron Man book, starting with number 1, and it continues on into like 300 and something, well into the 90s before the Heroes Reborn stuff. So, but this is the last issue of Tales of Suspense proper. Now, Captain America will continue in this book this week. We'll talk about it next week, and it just gets renamed to Captain America, but the numbering continues. So this is 99. Next week is going to be Captain America number 100. So Captain America just kind of takes over the book, retitles it. The Magia is like the Mafia, basically, is what it is. I don't know why I don't know if that's like a real name for the Mafia, because this isn't the only book it's used in. Like it's used a lot in these old Silver Age books. So, but it's basically a crime organization. Maybe it's fictional. Maybe it's a fictional crime organization. I don't really know, but it's an organized criminal organization. So the Iron Man story here is just continuing the story from the last couple issues, and I haven't really been enjoying it because this story has digressed into what we used to get from Iron Man stories of like the mid 66 sort of range, where Iron Man is out of power every issue and he gets his ass kicked every issue, and oh no, my suit's out of power and the power to the magnet is gone, so the shrapnel's getting closer to my heart and I'm this close to having a heart attack, but I have to beat the bad guy. What am I going to do? I hate those stories. We got away from that for a really, really long time, and now we have gone back to it. So for the last 2 issues, Iron Man has been out of power, at the mercy of the Magia, and we did get introduced to Whiplash a couple issues ago. One of Iron Man's, he's kind of a lame villain, but he's one of Iron Man's like main villains, I guess. So this one is basically just this issue is basically Iron Man getting the crap kicked out of him. Whiplash using his whip, tearing up his armor. Again, Iron Man is out of juice, so he can't really fight back. We've got Jasper Sitwell on a special assignment from S.H.I.E.L.D., is trying to find Iron Man. Or, I'm sorry, he's trying to find Tony Stark in an effort to help Iron Man because he thinks Iron Man is in trouble. He doesn't know Tony Stark is Iron Man, right? But, I mean, a lot of this story is Jasper Sitwell running around. You know, Jasper Sitwell's fine. I prefer him over in the S.H.I.E.L.D. story, in the Strange Tales book. He's a little over the top here. But, so he's running around. Meanwhile, Whiplash is beating the hell out of Iron Man, right? They magnetize him to this table. But right then, AIM attacks the Magia, the Magia's ship, and that's what this kaboom, the ship's rocking around and it's like a gambling ship, right? Like where, it's where you can just go to gamble, but they're also running their criminal empire from this ship. Well, AIM comes and attacks it, right? Knocks a hole in it. It starts to fill up with water, and Iron Man is still magnetized to this table. He has no power. How's he going to get off of the table? He's going to drown, that kind of thing. So this story continues into Iron Man and Submariner #1, which I read today and posted on these accounts about today, and we'll talk about that next week. I'm ready for this story to be over. I just don't love these stories where Iron Man is out of power. It's overused. If Iron Man really ran out of power this much, he would find a way to fix it, right? So I think we'll get there, though. So the Captain America story is better. Over the last couple of issues, he made his way to Wakanda. We got the first meeting between Captain America and Black Panther. Their first face-to-face meeting last issue. 2 issues ago, they talked to each other for the first time over, they FaceTimed each other, basically. But Baron Zemo is back from the dead. And he has this death ray up in space that can use the power of the sun to basically beam down and cut a swath through the earth, basically. And Black Panther called Captain America for help because Captain America has past dealings with Baron Zemo. Last issue, they got trapped in a hole, for lack of a better term, and now they're trying to get out. And this whole issue is basically them, Captain America and Black Panther, just trying to stop Zemo and his plan. They take on his thugs. They get zapped, taken prisoner again. Meanwhile, you've got Agent 13, who we aren't supposed to know yet. If we're experiencing this in the 60s, we don't know that this is Sharon Carter. But we do know this is Agent 13. She has gone undercover as one of Zemo's operatives. So she's I can't remember if she knows that Cap is there yet, but we'll get there. But she's there. See, right here. I mean, basically, this is using the power of the sun as a freaking laser to shoot a hole in the earth. Right? That's Zemo's big plan, and he actually sort of goes off and monologues right here. He's telling Captain America and Black Panther what this weapon could do. It could destroy cities, and he can obliterate nations in seconds if they defy him, that kind of thing, right? And they're just trying to take him down. Captain America and Black Panther are just trying to stop Zemo and his cronies. They continue to be unsuccessful, which I'm pretty surprised at. And the cliffhanger of this issue is that Cap gets knocked out, and Zemo tells Irma Krull, that's the person that Agent 13 is undercover as. He tells her to kill Captain America. And she is hesitant because she has a mission. She's got to stop Zemo. So she's on a mission, but she is in love with Captain America, and she can't kill him, obviously. Which is actually kind of funny now that I think about it, because in Captain America number 25 from the later 2000s, when Captain America supposedly died, it was actually Sharon Carter who was brainwashed by the Red Skull who pulled the trigger. So this same character. So that's kind of cool. I didn't realize that till just now. So that's a little bit of a callback to. Well, I won't want to say it's a callback to this, but it's funny that Sharon Carter has had Captain America at gunpoint at least twice. That was a good story, though. I got to go back and read it. Those omnibuses are coming out next year too. I might get those, even though I've read them, but they're so good. That whole run of Captain America is so good. Started in 2006. Ed Brubaker. That's where your Winter Soldier comes from. That's where your Captain America and the Winter Soldier movie comes from. Is that whole storyline? When Bucky comes back, it's so good. It's so good. Some of the best Cap stories ever. So this cliffhanger is going to continue in Captain America number 100. I'm actually reading that on Saturday, and we will talk about it next week. All right, so Daredevil number 38. This issue wasn't quite what I expected it would be. So last issue, Dr. Doom kidnapped Daredevil, did the old Freaky Friday body swap so that he could just waltz into the Baxter building and take out the Fantastic Four. So, at the end of last issue, they swap bodies. Dr. Doom is now in... So right here, that's Daredevil in Dr. Doom's body. Dr. Doom is in Daredevil's body. And it's kind of funny, because I love the Saturday Night Fever strut right here. I don't know, Gene Colan, I don't know why I drew it that way. I don't know if he intentionally drew it like he's strutting or what, but I thought that was pretty funny. So it's actually kind of funny that I was curious about this. So Dr. Doom says, it's strange, I seem to sense things rather than see them. The world appears different to me than before. My vision is clouded yet sharpened at the same time. So Dr. Doom never realizes that Daredevil is blind, that's what I was curious about last issue. I was wondering how Dr. Doom would adjust to that and what he would do or what he would think when he realized that Daredevil's blind. And I guess he didn't ever realize that. He thinks it's because of the filters on the mask. So I think it's a little bit of a missed opportunity. They could have done something with that. So the dumb thing about this is that Dr. Doom didn't tell his henchmen that he was gonna that this was his plan, that he was gonna swap bodies with Daredevil. So because of that, Daredevil in Dr. Doom's body is able to impersonate Doom and tell his guards, hey, come down here and get me out. Daredevil tricked me and he locked me in this cage, get me out, and they do. He puts out a call and warns the Fantastic Four, so we get a little bit of a Fantastic Four cameo here. The Dr. Doom's henchmen actually attack him because they don't know he's Daredevil. Why he wouldn't tell his henchmen his plan, I have no idea. That complicates matters. And I guess because if he did, you wouldn't have a story, right? Because half of this story is Doom as Daredevil fighting his own henchmen. Oh, and then big old nut shot right here too. That's straight to the groin, right? It's got to be. The way that I thought this issue was going to go down is that Doom as Daredevil would get to the Fantastic Four, and then I figured that Daredevil as Doom would also make it to the Fantastic Four, and then Reed Richards would have some kind of magical device and swap their brains back. That's how I thought it would go down. Turns out, it's kind of clever, but a little bit anticlimactic at the same time. What ends up happening is that Daredevil as Doom... See, this is Doom fighting Doom's henchmen now. This is Daredevil as Doom fighting Doom's henchmen. It's the same guys, but now it's the other one fighting them, so it's kind of silly. But anyway, what happens is Doom radios back to Latveria, where... I'm sorry. Daredevil as Doom radios back to Latveria, where Doom is the ruler, and says, hey, declare war. I want you guys to declare war right now on all of our neighboring countries. Do it. And the word travels fast, and Doom says, that's not cool. I can't have Latveria going to war. What is it he says exactly? Well, I don't remember. He said... So, anyway, Doom as Daredevil never makes it to the Baxter building because he has to run damage control he has to run back to his base and swap bodies back so that he can call off the war, the declaration of war that he supposedly just declared, right? And he says, and at the end, he's like, you know what? It's fine. No problem. I wasn't really interested in being you anyway, or something like that. He says, I've so rarely been defeated that I'm actually amused by it. The king of Latveria is no common murderer. If I cannot magnificently win a victory, it affords me no pleasure to merely slay a foe. And he lets him go, and Daredevil lets Doom go, and that's it. So, I mean, didn't quite go the way I thought, but what's going to be interesting, and I got these books a little bit out of order, or not out of order, but the publication date doesn't quite line up, because in the next issue of Fantastic Four, the one I'll be reading this coming Friday and that we'll talk about next week, it's actually a continuation of this story. So when Doom and Daredevil swap bodies back, Doom heads straight to the Baxter Building to talk to the Fantastic Four about what happened. Well, the Fantastic Four don't quite believe that they've swapped back. So next issue of Fantastic Four that I'll be reading on Friday is actually the Fantastic Four attacking Daredevil because they think he's still Doom. And on the cover, it actually shows Spider-Man and Thor joining up with Daredevil against the Fantastic Four. And we all know it wouldn't be Marvel Comics without heroes fighting heroes 3/4 of the time. But I wish that issue of Fantastic Four had been the one that I read last week, like a couple of days after this one. So they're staggered a little bit. I wish it would have lined up better. But so next week when we talk about Fantastic Four number 73, it'll be a continuation of this story. They don't trust Daredevil, and they fight. So this was an okay story. I mean, it's certainly not the worst Daredevil that I've read over the last 38 issues. But but it just didn't quite go the way I planned. But that's okay. All right, so Avengers number 50. This one was a fine issue as well. So over the last couple of issues, we've seen there's been several little subplots going on. So the last couple of issues have dealt a lot with Magneto trying to pull Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch over to his side, trying to barter with the United Nations about giving mutant kind their own sovereign state, if you will. Or their own sovereign nation, I should say, and which I actually kind of thought that was cool because Magneto's he's tried to do that several times over the course of the history of Marvel Comics, right? Or the history of his tenure in Marvel Comics. He did that in the 90s with the Asteroid M stuff, the early 90s stuff. He has that now in the current books with Krakoa and all that stuff. So it's kind of neat to see him doing it. Also back in the 60s. But while that story was going on, we got little snippets of a B plot where Hercules actually went back to Olympus and saw that all the gods in Olympus were gone. Like, where are they all at? Last issue we found out that it was this guy named Typhon who snuffed out the Promethean flame, and it sort of zapped all of the gods in Olympus into this limbo region, if you will. And then he sent Hercules there as well. So Hercules is trapped there as well. The issue starts with Hawkeye and Hank Pym yelling at each other for whatever reason. I guess because they realized, oh shoot, we haven't had Hank Pym and Hawkeye yell at each other in a few issues. We need to have that. I mean, there's no justification for this whatsoever. And luckily, it doesn't last long. So most of this issue is Hercules. He manages to find the other gods. And Zeus says that because you are half god, half mortal, I can actually send you back. So Zeus can't send the other gods back, but he can send Hercules back. So he zaps Hercules back into the real world where Hercules throws down with Typhon. It's actually pretty cool, pretty action-packed issue. There's some pretty big hits in there like you would expect Hercules to do. The Avengers, or what's left of them, Hawkeye, Hank Pym, and Wasp, track Hercules down. They use the tracker in his ship that he took. They track him down as well. So basically, all four of the only four Avengers left at this point, because Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are gone now. Cap quit a few issues ago, so it's just these four guys left. So it's Hawkeye, Hercules, Hank Pym, and Wasp against Typhon. The other Avengers are of almost no help whatsoever. Hank Pym can't grow into Goliath anymore, but he does use ants to kind of make Typhon fall in a hole, I guess. I don't really know what he was doing there. But then, I mean, Hercules, this panel right here, I thought this was super cool. I love this. Just Hercules just laying a haymaker on Typhon. That was really nice. And they just fight. They just slug it out, and Hercules wins in the end. And that's pretty much it. He manages to defeat Typhon. What is this wrestling move right here? Where you grab the guy and flip him over, pile driver, I think. I don't know, something like that. I don't know wrestling. But he basically just beats the crap out of Typhon, and that's how he wins. Once he beats Typhon, he's able to restore the Promethean flame, which brings all the gods back. So, all done. That was easy. But Hercules decides to stay in Olympus, which means he's not going to be hanging out with the Avengers anymore. So, they made him... So, he became an official Avenger in issue number 45. And now he's leaving the team in issue number 50. So, he was an Avenger for all of 5 issues. Now, he does come back and forth to and from the Avengers over the course of the years. He's famously in the Avengers in the 90s when all the Avengers, including Hercules, they all wore leather jackets because that's what superheroes did in the 90s. They all wore leather jackets. Probably we won't see him again for Comics Daily probably until we hit the 70s, probably mid-70s, which is going to be a really, really long time, when he is a big part of the Champions. He's a big part of that team. He might pop up again here and there in Avengers, but I don't think we'll see him again in a regular fashion in a more or less lead role until we get to the Champions, and that's like 75 or something like that. So that's going to be a long, long time before we get there. But that's okay. I mean, Hercules is cool, but we're about to get into some really awesome Avengers stories pretty soon in the next few weeks. So that's going to be fun. But right now it's kind of funny because all that's left of the Avengers is Hawkeye, Hank Pym, and Wasp. That's it. That's all that's left of the Avengers right now. Now, I think next issue, Iron Man and Thor come back, but I don't know if they come back to the team. I think they do pretty soon, though, because we're just a few issues away from Ultron and Vision and Yellow Jacket and all that stuff. Black Panther shows up in a couple issues and joins the team, I think. So it's not going to be just these three for long. And like I said, we're about to get to the good stuff. I think Cap comes back pretty soon, too. So we've almost made it through the really, really bad stuff, and we're about to get to the really good stuff in a few weeks. So I'm looking forward to that. So moving on to Strange Tales number 166, like Tales of Suspense. This is also a double feature. This one being between Doctor Strange and Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. I've only been reading the Nick Fury stories. Nothing against Doctor Strange. I like him just fine. But I just more had a hankering to read spy stuff when I started reading this book. Now, Strange Tales, as we know it, as in this double feature, only runs through number 168. And then Nick Fury spins off into his own series, Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 1. And I wasn't going to read that because Marvel Unlimited only has like issues 1, 2, and 4 or something. But Comixology is having a ginormous sale on all of the Marvel Masterwork editions. And I bought Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Volume 2 because it collects issues 1 through 15 of that. I got it for $1.69 when it's normally like $20 or $30. So I mean, it's like it was 90-something% off. So I got that one. I didn't buy any of the others because all those issues are here on Marvel Unlimited, so I didn't need to spend the money. But those issues of Nick Fury are not. So I was able to get the first 15 issues of that for $1.69. So I might keep going with that, but I might not because I'm gonna, now we've got Captain America and Iron Man as separate titles. I might pick up Hulk because this week is when the Incredible Hulk rolls into his own series, continuing the numbering from Tales to Astonish. That's why Submariner jumped out of that book and into his own book. So we're starting to get into the era. It's late 60s. We're getting close to the 70s, and that's when the books exploded, right? That's when you get a whole bunch of new characters. That's when you get your Marvel team-ups and your Marvel 2-in-1s and all that kind of stuff. So we're starting to get... We're about to get into more than 6 books a week, right? So, and I'm going to have to start making some decisions. So, because I can't keep up with like 2 books every day. So, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to keep going with Nick Fury after Strange Tales. But after this one, we got 2 more left, and then we'll figure it out. So, one thing that's different about this, too, is normally the Nick Fury stories are first. But this one, for some reason, Doctor Strange is first. So, but here's the start of the Nick Fury story, right? Yeah. So, this story just continues on with Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D.'s pursuit of Yellow Claw. He stole the weapon from AIM, and he's gonna, destroy. He wanted to destroy Manhattan. He's captured Nick Fury like every issue for the past 5 issues, and Nick Fury's now in a wingsuit. He's in a wingsuit, chasing after Yellow Claw, but still smoking a cigar because he is a man, right? He's a man's man, and he's always smoking a cigar. It's pretty silly. Actually, it disappears after that panel. So, so this story is fun. It's getting a little long in the tooth, but it's okay. But guys, I am telling you, this book, this run that we've been on for a while, written and drawn by the legendary Jim Steranko, who, when I hear Steranko, I think Nick Fury, right? He's getting better and better every issue. This book and his artistic work is ahead of its time. It's way more, the visual storytelling, I talked about it last week and maybe the week before. It is so far ahead of any other Marvel comic that was being published in the 60s. And you'll see what I mean here in a minute. I mean, this is the kind of stuff you would see in books today. And in fact, one page of this book reminded me of one of the issues of Batman that Scott Snyder wrote. One of the issues of the Court of Owls storyline that Scott Snyder wrote several years ago, probably 2013-ish, in the New 52, during that whole era. And you'll see, we'll get to that in a minute, but we'll go through this. Nick Fury he finds Yellow Claw's base. It's underwater, because of course it is. The S.H.I.E.L.D. manages to capture Yellow Claw's floating base, which is what that is, right? With the big candy striped beam. So what I liked about last issue was that S.H.I.E.L.D. finally showed up, right? Because Nick Fury is a director of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is like the nation's, or one of the world's largest top secret spy organizations. And Nick Fury is the head of that. Yet Nick Fury does everything by himself, right? You never, like, the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents don't ever do anything, except for like a few issues here and there. At least lately. Last issue, S.H.I.E.L.D. finally showed up and a bunch of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents did stuff. Nick Fury's back on his own again. So, all right, so here we go, guys. Look at this page. Let me do this. Let me zoom in, and I can't show you this. See, freaking this book, Strange Tales, for some reason doesn't zoom properly the way everything else does. But look at how this looks. You start these top couple panels with Nick Fury and some thought balloons, and he realizes I think he finds some schematics for this base, and he says, "Oh, this is like a labyrinth. This is booby trapped, all that kind of stuff." You scroll down, and he's walking through a corridor, but then you read it counterclockwise. So then all of a sudden it shifts sideways. I had to turn the orientation lock on my iPad so I could read this. So then this panel is actually meant to be read sideways. And then if you follow up to the panel above that, it rotates and it's upside down. And that's meant to give you the perception of that this base really is a maze, and there's booby traps, and it's meant to disorient you. There was nothing else like this in Marvel Comics or DC or any comics, for that matter, in the 60s. There was the one issue of Amazing Spider-Man with Mysterio. I don't remember the number, but Spider-Man tracked Mysterio to this strange house, and Mysterio, there was one room that was all upside down, and it was meant to disorient Spider-Man, and all the word balloons in that panel were upside down. So you had to flip your comic, or I had to flip my iPad upside down to be able to read it. But that wasn't close to this. I mean, so yeah, the story is Nick Fury's chasing Yellow Claw to try to get the weapon from him, right? Okay, fine. That's all well and good. But the visual storytelling in this is just better than anything else. I mean, it's like I said, this reminds me of the issue of of Batman, the Court of Owls storyline from Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, where the same thing happened, where Batman was tracking the Court of Owls down into the sewers of Gotham, or not even the sewers. I think like some secret underground passageways or something, and it was like a labyrinth. And at least I don't remember if it was one page or several, but it went upside down. And I think there was even a blurb on the Comixology store page for that issue that said, "You're gonna need to turn your orientation lock on to read this." And you know what? I think I remember what it was. It was one page was normal, the next page was rotated, the next page was rotated again, so it was upside down, and I think the next page was rotated. I think it was something like that. And it's meant to disorient you, to give you the idea that Batman was also getting disoriented from this crazy labyrinth he was going through. Same thing here. This is awesome. And the colors, like the gray and the yellow, I need to look I've got the tray that actually collects all these. I need to look, because the colors in that are different. I want to say that that's been recolored. I need to check that. So I'll do that afterwards. But guys, it's just so cool. I mean, I was just so taken aback by this. And then this is all like regular up and down, but still, the way the panels are laid out, it's not the typical 4, 6, 9 grid panel page or whatever. This is something different. It's just great. I mean, I love just looking at this thing. This is so good. Also, Jimmy Woo gets captured by Yellow Claw's guys. He gets taken prisoner just the same way that Nick Fury was taken prisoner every issue for the last 5 issues. Nick Fury tries to save Jimmy Woo. Once again, he breaks into Yellow Claw's base, just as he's done every issue for the last 4 or 5 issues. Yellow Claw's niece, actually, she's in love with Jimmy Woo. And what they're going to do to Jimmy Woo is they've got him strapped upside down to this thermofrigid intensa ray. They're basically going to freeze him, right? They're going to hit him with a blast so cold that he's going to freeze and he's going to die. That's what they're going to do. I don't know why they're going to do that. Just shoot him in the head. But that's how they're going to kill Jimmy Woo. They are going to freeze him. Well, Yellow Claw's niece actually jumps in the way. So let's zoom in on this again, because this was really cool too. She jumps in the way up here at the top. I'm sorry I can't zoom in any more than this. I don't know why this one series is the only one that doesn't zoom properly. She jumps in the way, tries to get him down, but the freeze ray activates. She gets frozen instead. And I love this. This is so rare in comics from this era, because comics from this era are so verbose and they're so overly wordy. But right here in the middle, no words. Again, visual storytelling. And you can see that she gets Jimmy Woo down, but she gets caught in the blast. Yellow Claw is surprised. She gets blasted more. Nick Fury is shocked. And then you can see she's frozen. Sue-Won, that's her name. I forgot. Sue-Won. And she's frozen in that last panel in the middle. And supposedly she's dead. Now, what is ridiculous about this is the next panel where Jimmy Woo says, "She's dead and you both killed her and I'll make you both pay." There's no way Jimmy Woo would blame Nick Fury for her death, because Fury came in there trying to rescue Jimmy Woo. He told Soo-won, "Don't do that, you'll get killed." Jimmy heard him say this, so there's no way that was a little silly. That end panel of Jimmy Woo being pissed at Fury, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. So the story's good, but this book is a treat just to look at every week. So props to Jim Steranko for the layouts on this one, for the visual storytelling on this one. This one was, like I said, this one is ahead of its time. This is the kind of stuff you would see in comics today, and this was 68. This was like 52 years ago. So very nice, very nice. So we'll see how that one winds up. We got 2 more issues of Strange Tales. I'm assuming this storyline will continue through those last 2 issues. And then the last issue we have for this week is Fantastic Four number 72. This one is very Silver Surfer heavy. So if you remember last week, Reed said that he and Sue were quitting the Fantastic Four because Sue is pregnant. And Reed doesn't want her to be put in danger, and that makes a lot of sense. That's very understandable. So they bail from the team, and Ben and Johnny and Crystal's still there too. Crystal is a good character, and her powers are really cool. She's an Inhuman, for crying out loud. She never does anything. She is completely useless in this title. She doesn't do anything ever, and she is just as powerful as any of the rest of the Fantastic Four. It's really frustrating. But they're just kind of lamenting the fact, what are we going to do? Reed and Sue are gone. So the Watcher shows up and actually tells them that, hey, the Silver Surfer's back, and he's going to attack all of mankind. So the best way I can explain this, and the way that what I said about this on Twitter and Instagram, or no, just Twitter, is that this issue is like the end of the Watchmen comic, where Ozymandias, is that how you pronounce it? I always say Ozymandias. He creates a giant squid, right? The giant alien squid. And drops it in the middle of New York to give mankind something to unite against and rally against. To bring that's his whole plan, right? That's the whole point of that's the whole plot of Watchmen, is that the comedian finds out that Ozymandias is going to do this. Ozymandias has the comedian killed, and then it becomes a murder mystery, whodunit, that kind of thing. Ozymandias actually follows through with his plan at the end of the 12-issue series. This squid that he drops in the middle of New York starts attacking everything, and mankind, which was all fighting against each other, all the countries unite to take down this alien squid. Silver Surfer plays the part of the alien squid in this issue. So he says that, humanity, they could create a living utopia, but the very air I breathe seems tainted with the arid stench of bigotry, hatred, greed, and oppression. Don't forget, this is in the 60s too. This is like right around the Vietnam era. So Silver Surfer says, I am going to start just attacking everything. The only way to make them cease their constant warring is to provide for them a common foe. Let them unite to battle me, the ultimate enemy. So he goes around blowing stuff up, right? Like, Silver Surfer is a dick in this issue. He's got noble intentions, but he does bad things to accomplish his mission, right? So he's causing tsunamis, and he's uprooting pyramids and all this, using the power cosmic to do all this stuff. Awesome Jack Kirby Silver Surfer, though. Jack Kirby Silver Surfer doesn't get any better than that right there. So very cool. But he goes to New York, and he says that he doesn't want to hurt anybody. He just wants to give humanity something to rally around, right? The Silver Surfer doesn't want to hurt anybody, yet he tears his way through building after building, knocking the top off all these buildings in New York. So the Watcher comes to warn... the Watcher warned Ben and Johnny already. He then goes and finds Reed and Sue and warns them as well. Johnny and Ben are no match for the Silver Surfer. They fought before, and he just mopped the floor with them. Reed joins the fray. The Watcher teleports Reed to where Ben and Johnny are, so he joins the fray as well. They fight. They don't really stand a chance against the Silver Surfer. But they do save the Silver Surfer because the government actually, the military actually has this weapon, the Sonic Shark, which can actually siphon Silver Surfer's power from him. And it succeeds, and it weakens him. But, the Fantastic Four know that the Silver Surfer isn't inherently a bad guy, right? They want to save him. So they actually save him from this weapon. And then because of that, because of their act of kindness, Surfer says, I'm no longer invincible, no longer mad enough to feel that one being alone could bring sanity to the human race. I'm in your debt. You shall not find me ungrateful. And he leaves. And that's it. So, I mean, he destroys everything to, so that mankind will rally together and defeat him. And then he realizes the error of his ways, and he leaves. That's it. So, like I said, the next issue of this was a one-and-done story. The next issue is Ben, Reed, and Johnny versus Daredevil, Spider-Man, and Thor. So I'm pretty excited for that one. That's gonna be pretty cool. But that's it. That's gonna be next issue. This one was pretty good. I think next issue is gonna be fun though. So. But that's it, guys. That is all the books that I read for this past week. Again, March 1968. Some of them were good, some were not so good. We're getting closer and closer to the 70s, which is where the fun stories start. That's where that's when you get your Ghost Riders and your Champions and your giant size X-Men in like 75. So it's still gonna be a while before we get there. But that's when the fun stuff starts happening. So I'm really excited to get there. Guys, I appreciate hanging out with me, listening to me talk about these comics, though. If you want to keep up with me as I read these each day, and again, I read one every day, you can follow me on @_, don't forget the _ Comics Daily on Twitter, or _ Comics Daily IG on Instagram. I post screenshots of each of these issues with, little commentary, identifying jokes and trends, and new character appearances, and new creative teams coming on, and just that kind of stuff. So I post about one of these every single day on both of these accounts. If you want to keep up with that stuff. So like I said, next week we're going to be talking about comics from April 1968. We've got the Spider-Man one was really fun, and the Iron Man Submariner, like I read today, it was fine. But more fun stuff. So guys, I appreciate hanging out with me. I will see you guys next week. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Oh, you know what? Actually, before I go, like I said, this is the last episode of 2020, so have a safe and happy new year. It's been fun doing this. I started doing this on May 20th, so I've been doing it for a little over 7 months now. Or not this show, but the tweets and the Instagrams and all that stuff. I've been doing the show for 20 episodes now. Been reading these, though, since May, so it's been really fun, and I plan to continue it on into 2021. So have a safe and fun new year, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.